Yeah.
Okay, I'm cuddling my Vanny plushie. I'm wrapped in a blanket and have my fuzzy socks on.
Comfy. That's gonna be me later. But I don't have a Vanny
Mhm.
plush. Cry.
Haha.
Not yet,
I have a
anyway.
Vanny plush, you know. Are you gonna get a Vanny plush? I think they're selling them again.
Yeah, I'm waiting for mine in the mail.
Ooh, nice.
Alright. In a roiling auditory overload of screams and laughter, shouts and music, and bells and dings, one more shriek shouldn't have stood out. This one did. Lucia stopped dead when she heard the shrill screech. It felt like the keen was spearing into her ears and drilling through her brain. All the hairs on the back of Lucia's neck stood up, and a shiver trickled down her spine. Her legs went weak. Lucia looked toward the direction of the screech, up at the apex of the zero-gravity ride. As she did, thick clouds that had been swallowing the night stars for the last hour gulped down the three-quarter moon, too. Suddenly, in spite of the carnival's thousands of glaring lights and the mild 60-degree temperature, the night felt heavy and oppressive. It was a bad omen. Very bad omen. Lucia flinched when a hand gripped her upper arm. She shook off the hand, took a step back, and forced herself to look at Jace's face. Her date's face. How weird was that, to be out on a date? Came onto focus. Hey, sorry, Jace said. You looked like you were going to faint or something. I was just trying to help. I didn't mean to. It's okay, Lucia said. She dug deep and managed to smile. She hoped she didn't look as freaked as she felt. I'm just an edge, Lucia told herself. She never would have chosen a carnival for a double date. The carnival wasn't just auditory overload. It was total sensory overload. I feel that.
Mhm.
Pressed by the crowd streaming through the midway, Lucia felt hemmed in by all the kaleidoscopic neon lights and garish colors of the spinning and whipping rides, and she cringed at the intrusive shouted clatter of the carnies who ran the games. Just a few feet away from Lucia, a tattooed man with a heavily creased face bellowed, 3 balls for a buck! Try your luck! Lucia liked quiet, not cacophony. She was in her element. But the screech that had disquieted Lucia was only a screech, one of hundreds emanating from the thrill rides. Thinking it was an omen just for her being fanciful, something her logic-based parents would have scolded her for. Lucia took a deep breath and started walking, knowing that Jace would fall and step beside her. He was malleable, like an eager puppy. Aw. I was kinda hoping Jace was a girl. Oh well,
Mm,
figured to be straight.
yeah.
When Lucia had stopped, she and Jace had fallen behind their friends, Adrian and Hope. Zigging around a group of little kids arguing over cotton candy, Lucia scanned the crowded carnival midway and caught sight of Hope's bouncy strawberry blonde ponytail up ahead. Lucia could see dirty blonde curls a few inches above the ponytail, even from this distance of 20 feet or so, even past the darting kids and sauntering teens and scattered families. Lucia could see the way Adrian's curls lay against the neck of his dark blue polo shirt, which fit him perfectly, as did his faded jeans. Or maybe she was just going from memory. Lucia could recreate the minutiae of everything Adrian in her mind's eye. This wasn't a good thing. Adrian was her friend, not her boyfriend. He was with Hope. Now, thanks to Adrian's bizarre matchmaking efforts, Lucia was with Jace.
Mm, things
Typical.
will happen. This will be like teenage drama. Things happen and people die.
As always.
Mhm.
Lucia walked faster. Jace followed suit. They caught up with Adrian and Hope next to a funnel cake stand. Lucia inhaled the scent of fried dough and cinnamon. Somehow, the aromas managed to overpower all the other carnival scents: buttery popcorn, sizzling burgers, and sickly sweet cotton candy, people's sweat and perfume, the ride's engine grease and sawdust. Lucia's nose was having to work overtime to keep up with all the olfactory input. I really shouldn't, Hope was saying as Adrian stepped up to the stainless steel counter to order one of the oily, sugary things that Lucia thought looked like a dismembered donut that had been glued back together with oil. Adrian turned and spotted Lucia and Jace. There you are. We thought we'd lost you. Want a funnel cake? I'm buying. Adrian flashed his perfect white tooth grin. Lucia shook her head, but Jace said, sure. Yo, dudes! A deep voice boomed from behind them. Lucia didn't bother to turn. She knew the voice. It belonged to Joel, the 6'6" center on their school's basketball team. I had one of those funnel cakes last night, the deep voice said. This voice was crisper, filled with self-importance. Eat at your own peril, barfed Maya up on the orbiter ride. Lucia sighed loudly as the two guys, both dressed in baggy jeans and team t-shirts in their school's unfortunate purple and gold colors. Purple and gold. What is their team name? The Aftons?
The Aftons.
Unfortunate purple and gold colors pushed past her. They each slapped Adrian on the back. He gave them a friendly smile, but Lucia knew Adrian well enough to know that he wasn't thrilled to see them. She didn't bother to smile at them. Why pretend that you liked someone when you didn't? You must have decided to come at the last minute. Joel saw Adrian, crossed his ape-like arms in front of his barrel chest, and cocked his big, bushy, sandy-haired head. And you lost your phone, so we couldn't call. Let us know? He elbowed Wade, the self-professed barfer. Think we're not welcome? Wade grinned. Oh, sure we are. The more the merrier. Right, Hope? He winked at Hope. Ugh. Of course, it's one of those stories. Hope gave Wade a stiff smile and took Adrian's arm. Wade nonchalantly ran a hand through his long brown hair as if Hope's lack of interest didn't bother him. His narrowed brown eyes and stiff thin lips gave away his true feelings. Lucia had an odd moment of empathy for Wade. She didn't like him, but she could relate to how he felt. Wade, who thought he was the king of their class and all girls should treat him accordingly, had wanted to date Hope for years. He probably thought it was his right to date her. He was a celebrated quarterback of the football team, the head jock of the school. And Hope was the head cheerleader. Oh my god, all these cliches.
Oh, God.
Lucia,
Oh, God. I'm back in high school. Leave me alone. I left.
Lucia was sure that in Wade's mind, he and Hope were royalty. They should have been together. Even though she was a statuesque cheerleader, almost supermodel beautiful with 5 feet 4 inches of athletic curves and shiny hair and big cartoon princess eyes and rosy lips. Hope wasn't stuck up and elitist like Wade was. She was actually very nice. She was with 6'2" sculpted Adrian, the star of the school's basketball team. Adrian was also one of the senior class royalty. He'd think of himself that way. Why is it anytime someone's good looking, they always have to go into such detail?
The weird thing about it is that they tend to go into like overly detail with like other people and characters when it's a female protagonist. Have you noticed that?
No, because they're also describing the dude. Oh yeah, right. When it's no wait, because what's his face? The kid from the second story, Haps. He was also very
Haps?
descriptive of his own appearance and his friend's appearance.
Oh yeah. Like maybe it's just because like I haven't read any books in a while since like Harry Potter was really big, like back before all the J.K. Rowling stuff. But like I don't remember characters like being described this way, especially with like third close person perspective. It just almost feels like a little vain to do it that way, but I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Plus, focusing on a girl's curves when you're the female protagonist, kind of gay.
Kind of gay. Are you? Well, like she's only crushing after like Adrian, right? Like the guy in the basketball team who's apparently like really athletic. She didn't say that she was on the cheerleading team too, or whatever.
Well, let's see.
Hmm.
Adrian was the reason why Lucia's senior year was going a lot better than she thought it would when she and her parents had moved to town just before her last year of high school. Given that she was a straight A student, science and tech geek with an innocuous obsession with the supernatural, not all interested in looking and acting normal, Lucia figured she'd be an outcast, but she wasn't. She and her family happened to move across the street from Adrian, a nice guy who made sure Lucia felt welcome and included. I'm not like
Am
other
I
girls.
am I in High School Musical right now? What is this?
Except in High School Musical, the cheerleader and the jock weren't dating, and it was, I don't know.
Yeah, but all I remember about High School Musical was like, I don't sing or do musicals. I do basketball.
Get your head in the game. Lucia watched Adrian's friendly blue eyes crinkle as he accepted a tray of funnel cakes and began passing them around. He was so gorgeous. His face belonged on magazine covers. Lucia never tired of watching him, except when her wish that he was more than a friend was too much for her. Hey, Hope, are you really eating fried bread? Shame on you. Nick, one of the 5 males in their high school's cheerleading squad, came up behind Hope and bumped her good-naturedly. Oh, I guess he's the gay friend stereotype if he's berating her for eating bread.
Well, like, I guess so, but dude, chill out. It's a carnival. They wanted funnel cake and they got funnel cake.
I'm surprised they didn't describe him as having the typical, "Hey, Hope, are you eating fried bread? Shame on you!" Like that kind of voice.
Maybe. Maybe.
A tall, slender girl who looked like she was trying to be invisible trailed behind Nick. Hope smiled at her. "Hey, Kel. I didn't know you guys were coming here tonight." The girl shrugged. She looked at the group and then dropped her gaze to her feet. Hope, who had just taken her first bite of funnel cake, quickly wiped the sugar and grease off her lips. She chewed, then giggled. "Join me for a couple extra laps in the morning?" she asked Nick. "I'll have to work this off." "Only if you share," Nick said. He reached out and pulled off a piece of Hope's funnel cake. "Take as much as you want," Hope said. She looked past Nick. "You want some, Kel?" Kelly to everyone except Hope, blinked and shook her head as she toyed with her long, brown, single braid. Poor Kelly, Lucia thought. Kelly was so excruciating shy when she was in groups. Me. She was Hope's best friend, or one of them. Hope was close friends with Nick, too. And she was a nice girl. Bright and funny. Kelly wasn't a cheerleader. Apparently, she and Hope had been friends since they were in kindergarten together. Lucia had overheard Kelly when she thought she was alone with Hope or Nick. Kelly had a lot of interesting things to say because she genuinely liked to study and she read all the time. Pretty with exotically. Don't.
What?
I'm gonna skip that word. Pretty with slanted hazel eyes and soft freckled features.
What word?
They're referring to her having slanted eyes as exotic, meaning they're like trying to describe her as being Asian or something.
Oh, yeah. I see what you mean. It's hard to tell I'm in the pixel dimension, but I see it now.
Yeah, I'm gonna ignore the exotic part. Pretty with slanted hazel eyes and soft freckled features. Kelly dressed well.
Exotic butters.
That's the only time the word exotic is okay to use.
She just has exotic butters on her face. That's the Lord.
That reminds me, in House Flipper, I actually downloaded an asset that lets me put the exotic butters in the game.
Nice.
Kelly dressed well, if you were into current fashions. Tonight, she wore ankle-hugging olive pants with a cropped tan tank top that revealed her flat stomach. Lucia wondered what had happened to Kelly to steal her self-confidence. Kelly and I just gorged on corn dogs, popcorns, and milkshakes. Nick snatched another piece of Hope's funnel cake. He opened his mouth wide and popped in a bite. The sugar that remained on his lower lip made him look like a little boy. But then, his soft, smooth features always gave him a boyish look. Green-eyed, ginger-haired Nick was a cute in a kid-next-door kind of way. "And you're still eating," Hope said affectionately. Nick chewed and swallowed. But of course, my muscles need fuel. He struck a bodybuilder pose and Hope laughed. Although he wasn't a jock, Nick's muscles rivaled the bulging brawn of Joel and Wade. Oh my god, do we really need to go into detail about muscles?
I don't know, we're going into details about curves and eyes and muscles. I'm already exhausted. We're only on the second page.
Adrian was ripped too, but in a less in-your-face way. It was just fit, not muscle-bound. Jace nudged Lucia, startling her. She whipped her head toward him. Oh yeah, her date. She forced a smile and shook her head at the piece of fried dough he offered her. Didn't look appetizing in the least. All lumpy and shiny and tangled. Reminded her of intestines. Another shiver rippled through her.
I'm just trying to get this straight. Like, she wants to date the guy on the football team, but he's being dated by Hope. But she herself is dating a quarterback.
I don't think he's a quarterback. I think he's just a random dude that
he's on
Adrian tried to set her up with. This is like their first date.
But he is on the football team, basically.
I don't remember it being mentioned.
Yeah, so like, and she said that he was about as equally as popular as the guy that she has a crush on, and like.
No, that's Wade. That's Wade, the other dude who has a crush on Hope.
Okay, all right.
Too many teens.
Okay. Well, I'm just thinking it's just like, well, if like that guy is so great and popular and you're also dating like a great and also popular guy, like what's the problem? Like, what's your issue?
This is their first date.
Okay.
And she doesn't like that they're at a carnival because she's feeling like sensory overload.
Okay, like mood girl, but like get some cotton candy or something.
They're eating a funnel cake right now.
My brain is off for this story. I am sorry.
It's just they just keep going into appearances so much. It's like
why do they keep doing that? They did that with like Lally's game and like I hated it. But like I think it was like part of her character. And this it just seemed, I don't know. Well, let's just keep going.
Like you don't need to describe like every single aspect about a character that's
the thing that bothers me, because like it's a book, it's a short story, it's a novelia. You don't need to like go into every single detail about a person's appearance, especially within the heat of a moment during like a climatic chase scene or an animatronic murder. You're not thinking about their toned body or whatever.
Or when you have only so much words to build up to the thing. You know what I think it is? They spend a lot of time on the description of the appearances because they have a word count to fill. It's like when you're trying to meet the word requirements for an essay in school.
Yeah, that could be it.
Anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It reminded her of intestines. Another shiver rippled through her. She put her back to Jace and the others and turned to watch the roller coaster cars clatter past on their downward swoop into a loop-de-loop that jutted about 50 feet above the roof of the funnel cake stand. So, what now? Joel asked as the whole group moved on and eventually clustered at the edge of the balloons and darts game. Lucia joined the others, her gaze on the dart-throwing kid standing at the games counter. She mentally calculated the optimal trajectory that would pop the uppermost red balloon. She could visualize the perfect arc in her head.
Wait a minute. Who's Joel?
One of the other jocks that showed up.
Okay, there's too many teens and there's too many descriptions getting confused in my
head.
Yeah,
that's what I was saying. There's too many teens. There's Lucia, there's Joel, there's Wade, there's Hope, there's Adrian, there's Kelly,
and I'm trying to keep track of the stupid teen drama because I just want to know who's going to push who into a roller coaster.
Wait,
Continue.
So, now what? Oh, I already read that. We've been on all the rides and played most of the games, Hope said. She grinned up at Adrian adoringly. We had to walk back to his truck to leave all the prizes he won for me. Adrian didn't react to the praise. He was too humble to be cocky about his game prowess. He concentrated on eating his funnel cake. Wade rolled up onto the balls of his feet and puffed out his chest. I won a bunch of stuff last night, so I didn't even bother to play today. Joe and I just wanted to go on the rides again. Lucia rolled her eyes, as if, she thought, Wade won anything? It was probably one of the little rubber duck prizes they gave out at the duck pond game. Wade wasn't nearly as awesome as he thought he was. How did I get here? That's what I'm wondering, girl. Lucia wondered. She didn't even like carnivals. But what could she do when Adrian told her that he'd set up a double date? He was being nice. She figured saying no would have been rude. It wasn't like she didn't like Jace. He was a nice guy too. Oh, finally we're going to learn who he is. Jace was Adrian's unlikely best friend. Unlikely because Jace was the antithesis of a jock. Yeah, so he's not a jock at all.
Oh, okay. I was misreading then.
About 5'6" and skinny, Jace looked like the consummate nerd. Oh, I see what he tried to do. Adrian's like, hey, you're studious and super smart and like talking about supernatural stuff. Why don't you date my best friend who's also a nerd?
Right.
He had thick black hair that was never properly combed, equally thick, black-rimmed round glasses that he constantly had to push back up on his nose, and a pale, angular face that couldn't be called good-looking by anyone, probably not even his mother. Ouch!
Ow! Also, there's nothing wrong with like 5'6" guys. When I was in high school, I was like into shorter guys because I was the tallest person in my class.
I think my dad is 5'6". I have no idea, but like, I think Markiplier is the same height too. No one cares. Yeah. I mean, everyone jokes about him being short, but
right.
On top of his unfortunate looks, oh girl, why are you being so cruel? Jace dressed in checkered dress shirts paired with dress slacks. He always had at least...
He's probably better looking than Billy. How Billy ended up.
And slacks. He always had at least a dozen pens and pencils stuffed into a pocket. This is the stereotypical nerd.
My mom's dad had a pocket protector.
This is like just Steve Urkel.
That's what he looks like in my head canon now.
He looked like he was a male version of Lucia. I fucking called him before. He paired them up just because they're basically the same.
Right.
A science nerd. But he wasn't all that bright. Oh! He was more creative than intelligent.
What's wrong with that?
I don't know. Jace was an artist. A pretty brilliant one, actually. He can draw and paint the most amazing portraits. He'd done one of Lucia that made her look downright pretty. Without Jace's artistic talents to help her, Lucia wouldn't have described herself as pretty. She'd always thought her face was too thin and angular to be attractive. She also had odd features. One eye was much bigger than the other, her nose was slightly crooked, and her mouth was way too wide for her face. Bitch, my nose is huge. One of my eyes is like slightly higher up than the other, then I don't care. I'm not even joking, but literally one of my eyes is like higher up on my face.
Well, you know what? People notice these qualities about themselves, but if you tell it to anyone else, no one's like, huh. Everyone's like, huh, I never noticed that about you before. You know what?
The only reason why I know about my uneven eye thing? In high school, when they made us do like the whole portrait thing where you had to like take a photo of yourself and then you make a grid, we were using like straightforward portraits of ourselves. So obviously, when I was doing the grid, my eyes didn't line up. I obviously adjusted it in the actual painting that I did of that photo to make them even, because symmetry, but All this was part of a head she thought was too big for her petite 5'2" frame, accentuated by her wild, kinky black curls, which she could never fully contain but didn't have the heart to chop off. Lucia's late grandmother had loved Lucia's afro-like hair, so Lucia let her hair radiate from her head like a black nimbus in honor of her beloved Nana. Her clothes were a tribute to her Nana, too. Lucia had a closet full of woven vests in a variety of colors and patterns, all handcrafted by Nana. Lucia paired these vests with men's black shirts, ankle-length skirts, and hiking boots. Even under the protection of Adrian's friendship, Lucia's wardrobe raised eyebrows on a regular basis. A kid eating a slice of pizza walked past, bumping into Wade. "Hey!" Wade said. "Watch where you're going." The kid, who looked to be about 10 or so, stuck out his pizza sauce-covered tongue at Wade and ran off.
And that's the only FNaF we'll see in this story. Pizza.
We don't know. We still have no idea where this is going, and there's still... we're on page 192 of 209. We're 92% into this.
Okay.
Into the book as a whole, not the story, but...
Okay.
Wade looked as if he was going to give chase, but before he could, Jill grabbed his arm. "I've got a great idea." "Oh, I already see the Freddy Fazbear's Pizzaplex in the next corner," Joel said loudly. He turned and pointed past the roller coaster toward the dome-shaped metal skeleton of Freddy Fazbear's Mega Pizzaplex. Okay, so it's not completely off the grid, the Pizzaplex. It's like, there's a section of woods, like maybe a small section of trees. Like sometimes there's like trees like that make up a fake fence, a privacy fence around like certain buildings, and then there's like other buildings afterwards.
I don't know what you're talking about, but it's under construction at this point. It's not built.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, it just says well-lit construction site, never mind.
Yeah.
Let's go over there and look around. Lucia gazed towards the well-lit construction site. She shivered. The town had been buzzing about the massive entertainment center for months. Ever since Fazbear Enterprises. Enterprise now, not entertainment. Announced his intention to create a Colosseum-sized arena filled with games, rides, restaurants, and stages that would feature all the Fazbear animatronic characters, except Bonnie later. Everyone thought the project was wonderful. It was an economic boon for the town. Supposed to create tons of new jobs and bring in thousands of tourists. Tons of new jobs. Looks at the future where it's just mostly staff bots.
They kill them all. I don't know why I can buy the ridiculousness of so many murders in mass in the Pizzaplex, but it's hard for me to believe that William Afton did like over 20 murders in his time. You know what? I think I know what the problem is. It's because that Vanny utilizes machines and
it can be easily described as an accident. Like the thing with the Endo slaughtering all those construction workers in the previous epilogue, they can easily like make up an more believable cover story. Like there was like a collapse that caused the death of all those 30 workers, and people won't bat an eye. Like other than, oh, that's tragic. Anyway, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, I find it more plausible for Vanny to commit more murder than William, actually, just because like it's a bigger place. She has more robots at her disposal. She rarely gets her own hands dirty, and like when she does, she always has like a cover story to do it. William Afton is just like stuffing children in animatronics, and I think that he could only do that a total of like 5 or 6 times rather than 10.
Yeah, and then meanwhile, Vanny, she's like rigged all the security badges. And like she's hacked the animatronics, and basically she's completely free of like nothing can tie her to her unless someone figures out she hacked it.
The Virgin Afton enjoyer versus the Chad Vanny lover.
If only she got more screen time.
I know. It's so sad. And, like, I know that she won't be elaborated in the books either, which also makes me sad.
We don't know yet. We don't know.
I hope so. I want Vanny stories in the books.
Anyway, thousands of tourists and jobs, and yeah, those jobs are gonna last. Lucia wasn't so sure the place was a great idea. She heard stories about the old Freddy Fazbear's pizzerias. There are rumors, dark ones. She even heard that the pizzeria was being built over the top of one of those pizzerias with a checkered past.
We're just stacking pizzerias on top of pizzeria. You know what it reminds me of? Have you ever seen that Vine, or not Vine, TikTok, I think, of it's just like a loop of, oh, who lives in a pineapple under a pineapple under a pineapple under a pineapple.
It's basically the Forever and Ever song on loop internally.
Right.
Why would we go over there? Hope asked. It's just a construction site. Yeah, but it's a good one. I've checked it out a couple times. Now, I hear they've already started bringing in animatronics. Oh, yeah. This is directly connected to that, the last one.
last thing.
Yeah. This is probably like a few days later, maybe a week or so.
Yeah, so these kids are all gonna die. So we learned all their names and all what they look like, and they're all gonna die. Every single one. Let's go.
30 plus construction workers. And how many teens are here? Hold on. I need to look up a list of all the names in this story because I can't keep track.
I'm surprised that this place has been constructed around like so much death, though, and they're like.
I mean, I think a lot of famous buildings had like a lot of construction-related deaths.
Yeah.
To be fair.
Yeah, you're right. Like, my grandpa was an iron worker, and that kind of stuff unfortunately happens more than you think. Not like the killer animatronics, but just like people dying in construction sites is not unheard of.
All right. Human characters in Epilogue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teenagers. Lucia, Jace, Adrian, Hope, Joel, Wade, Nick, and Kelly. Anyway. Maybe we can find one and get it turned on or something. I think there's already one wandering around. It's committing murder. Maybe we'll get arrested and go to jail, Jace said. Joel curled his thick upper lip and looked down at Jace. You scaredy cat runt. Joel, Adrian said. Knock it off. Jace stepped forward and put his shoulders back. It's okay, Adrian, I got this. He pushed his glasses up on his nose and set his head back so he could look Joel in the eye. You know what? I'm going to do the Steve Urkel. I'm going to try to do a Steve Urkel voice now. I need to. Now, just because I'm small and I draw doesn't mean I'm a scaredy cat, you Neanderthal.
Of course. That worked too well, because who calls anyone a Neanderthal? He really is Steve Urkel.
Wanna bet? Joel poked Jace in the chest. I bet if we go over there and we find one of those animatronics, you'll pee your pants. I don't know if our going over there is such a good idea, Nick spoke up. I heard something weird happen not that long ago. Something hush-hush. I skimmed over last night, but we were pretty right that it was just like not even that long after that.
Yeah, okay. So the stingers are connected in this case.
Great, Joel said. A mystery. Let's make like Scooby-Doo and the gang and go solve it. What you say, dudes?
That's an actual line, because I was just gonna joke about them being like Scooby.
Yeah, that's why I was like grinning. I was like, this is just like this is like the type of joke Jaina would make, and I was right.
Right. Well, no, because like, I was gonna say Scooby-Doo at first, but then I'm like, nah, this is more in line with like the Goonies, but like teenagers.
Lucia opened her mouth to say she wanted to go home, but never got the words out because Kelly, big shock, spoke up. I like mysteries. I just read a book on urbex, urban exploration. Be cool to poke around an old site. Joel raised an unruly eyebrow and looked at Kelly as if he was seeing her in a new light. Now that's the spirit. I'm in, Jay said. Lucia took his hand and leaned over so she could whisper in his ear. You don't have to prove anything. Yes, I do. If you don't stand up to them, they'll end up pounding you down. But Adrian won't let that happen, Lucia persisted. Adrian isn't always going to be around to fight my battles, Jace said. Adrian looked at Jace as if he'd overheard the comment. Are you sure, Jace? He asked. You can just leave. Jace nodded. I'm sure. Let's do this. Adrian's sculpted nose twisted as he thought. He looked down at Hope. What do you say? Are you willing to go over there? Hope's big blue eyes shifted from Joel to Jace and back again. She wasn't stupid. She understood the dynamic at play. She looked over at Kelly. Do you really want to go over there? Kelly flushed and wrapped the end of her braid around her fingers, but she nodded. When she spoke, her words were barely audible. It could be fun. Or not, Lucia muttered. Kelly's eyes flickered. She'd obviously heard Lucia, but she didn't say anything else. Let's blow this carnival and go have some fun. He threw an arm around Wade and began pulling his friend along the midway. Nick looked at Hope and Adrian. His full cheeks sucked in as if deep in thought. Adrian gestured at Jace. Your call. Let's go, Jace said. Lucia couldn't help but notice that her date hadn't asked her what she wanted. Should she call it a night and head home on her own? Yes, that would be the smart thing. She shrugged. No. She had to admit the idea of finding an animatronic kind of appealed to her. She was fascinated by robotics. So, Lucia followed her friends and her not friends, the carnival revelers. She tried not to think about the screech that had unnerved her earlier. Star.
I was going to say that you might want to cut back on the Urkel voice just because I'm not sure how it's picking up on the mic, but on my Discord, you like peak the mic and then it cuts out. And I'm in the pixel dimension, so I have to try and read the words and I can't hear what you're saying when you read his lines.
Oh, I'm sorry. Pizzaplex construction site waited, still and silent, in the molted shadows cast between sporadically spaced security lights. Surrounded by a 12-foot chain link fence that was plastered with danger, do not enter signs, the construction site looked, at first glance, to be out of reach. But Joel knew how to get in. There's some loose fencing down this way, he said, leading the group to the side of the site farthest from the carnival. It had taken just 10 minutes for them to walk from the carnival to the construction site, but it took another 10 to circumnavigate the unfinished dome structure, because the fencing was set 100 yards or so beyond the edges of the building itself. Lucia gazed past the chain link barrier as they trapezed over the dusty earth extending from the fence. From the fencing, Lucia could see the hulking shapes of a dozen dump trucks and excavators. Crane's boom extended toward the metal skeleton of the unfinished dome. Looked like a giant robot arm was reaching out, searching for a connection. Isn't that what we're all doing? Lucia thought. Lucia looked around at the others. They're all here because they were trying to connect, trying to be part of something, even if they would never admit it, not even to themselves. Lucia's rubber-soled boots made hushed, scuffling sounds as she walked. Hope's dainty sandals sounded like tap shoes. The others' athletic shoes chuffed at the earth. Occasionally, someone would kick a piece of gravel, and it'd ping off the metal fencing. In the distance, they could hear the over-the-top gaiety of the carnival, but it was strangely muted, as if the construction site acted as a sound dampener. Lucia could no longer smell all the carnival aromas. Now, all her nose detected was the arid smell of the earth and the sharp whiff of gasoline. Joel suddenly stopped, and so did everyone else. Reached out and tugged at a section of fencing, with a metallic scrape pulled back from one of the fence's metal posts. Here we go, Joel said. No one responded to him. They just slithered, single file, through the opening. As Lucia squeezed through, Sharp chain link edge scraped against the back of her wrist. She winced at sudden pain. She couldn't see the cut. The warmth trickling down the back of her hand let her know that the skin was broken. Though not seriously. Oh. I would honestly consider that seriously, because I will not notice I'm bleeding from a small cut. Unless it's, like, trickling.
Huh.
And that usually, like, takes about 20 seconds. Anyway. She pulled down the sleeve of her black shirt to staunch the flow. Nick was the last one through the fence. He let the chain link fall back into place with a twang that made Lucia stiffen. He looked around worriedly. Sure there's no dogs? Nick asked. Joel shook his head. He waved an arm towards Pizzaplex. Been all over the site. No dogs, no guards. Went to a spa about 100 feet away. There's some security cameras over there, near the office trailer and the construction materials. We don't need to get anywhere near them to see inside the dome. Lucia gazed at the piles of rebar and stacks of metal beams. Beyond them, a cement truck sat, its mixing drum bulging like it was pregnant. Lucia's imagination suddenly provided her with a vision of alien insectoid-like nanobots pouring from the mixing drum. She blinked and mentally chastised herself. The deserted sight was creepy enough without her brain adding to it. No one spoke as Joel led the way past the steamroller to an opening between two half-finished cement walls. There's an enclosure just past here. I think that's where the animatronics are being stored. Thankfully, more security lights were set up within the unfinished structure. The metal floodlights didn't flood so much as they spurted into darkness here and there, but they provided enough visibility to get around, and enough visibility to reveal a flat, red metal roof surrounded by the concrete floor Lucia and the others now stood on. Is that the roof of the old pizzeria? Kelly asked. Lucia was again surprised to hear Kelly speak up, but gazing at Kelly's wide eyes, Lucia could tell Kelly was really excited. So excited that she had apparently forgotten to be shy. What pizzeria? Hope asked. She was clinging to Adrian's arm. She obviously didn't want to be here, but she was trying to be a good sport. It's an old Freddy Fazbear Pizzeria site, Lucia said. I had a bet it. I think they're going to turn it into a museum or something. Look over there, Nick said. There's a ramp that looked like it's headed down, maybe toward the pizzeria's entrance. Come on, Joe's shadow stretched 12 feet ahead of him as he started toward the ramp that Nick had pointed out. I never noticed that when I was here before. Oh, you're about to walk into your deaths. Their footsteps crackled and...
They just go down there, and Peepa's like, "What are you doing in my swamp?" and kills them all.
No, it's like that one clip from that. I don't know where it's from, but it's that old man just like holding up a shotgun. Get off my lawn.
Yeah.
Their footsteps crackled and echoed as they all followed Joel toward the ramp. When they got closer to it, though, they realized the ramp led into nowhere. A couple feet down the ramp slope, it ended at a bulging mass of hardened concrete that's... they did bury it! They did!
So they did bury it in concrete, but concrete apparently doesn't work.
Oh, no, you know what it is? Remember the whole thing, Freddy cleared a path?
Yeah.
He probably broke the concrete. And the only reason why he did that is because there was someone aft and infected outside. If there's nobody left aft and infected, no one can get him out.
Right.
But that's how this happened in security breach. Anyway.
Right.
We're not getting in that way, Wade said. Started to turn away. That's the worst concrete pour I've ever seen, Adrian said. He moved down the ramp, leaned over, and poked at the clod of cement. Maybe it was a spill, Chase said. Adrian shook his head. I don't know, he frowned and shrugged. It's just weird as all. Yeah, like this is a direct connection from the last one, because the guy at the end of the last epilogue was screaming for them to seal it up.
Yeah, he was screaming at them to seal it up with concrete, and apparently they did, and it doesn't matter because the concrete gets cleared later by Freddy, and even though Freddy didn't say that his friends helped him clear the path. I'm thinking that they did, because I think it's like too much work for like one animatronic alone.
I mean, that one animatronic tore like a bunch of bodies like it was nothing.
Okay, also true.
Hey, look! Wade called from a few feet away. Everyone turned. Wade pointed to the far side of the flat red roof. Come on, I think I see a vent opening that might be big enough to get through. Wade trotted a few feet to their left and stepped from the Pizzaplex's concrete floor to the corrugated surface of the red metal roof. His feet grated against the uneven surface as he landed. When he started striding past the red metal, cadence of his steps echoed through the dim enclosure of the fledgling Pizzaplex. The rhythm became uneven and chaotic as everyone else followed him. About 50 feet from the blocked-off ramp, Wade knelt next to a square metal protrusion. Gripping its edges, he yanked, and easily came free. He lost his balance and landed on his butt. Jace chuckled. Joel turned and glared. Wade didn't seem to care about Jace's amusement. He immediately got to his knees and grabbed the steel vent grating that the metal square had concealed. It didn't come free easily, but when Wade jiggled it back and forth several times, it groaned and grumbled. And finally, with a loud snap, let go of the roof. Beneath the grate, a narrow, dark chute led downward. Wade immediately struck his feet into the chute, looked up at the others and grinned. Ready for an adventure? I'm not going down into that hole, Hope said. We don't know where it goes. That's the fun of a mystery, Kelly spoke up. Lucia mentally shook her head. Kelly was surprising Lucia right and left. There it is. There it is. Left and right. Left and right first.
Who cares?
I do!
I don't!
Kelly was surprising Lucia left and right tonight. Wade looked at Kelly with interest. That a girl, he said. Jill reached into his pocket and pulled out a tiny flashlight. She went down the chute. They all leaned forward to peer into the chute. The light didn't help them much. It revealed a narrow metal enclosure, slanting downward toward a bend that hid whatever lay beyond it. Give me that. Wade reached for Joel's flashlight. Joel shrugged and gave up the light. Okay. Lead on. I'll be right behind you. Wade slid feet first into the chute. Joel did the same. In seconds, they both disappeared around the bend. An anemic beam of light managed to make it back up to Lucia and the others as Wade and Joel's progress was marked by metallic thuds and clanks. A few more seconds of that noise passed. Then they heard a muted thump and a loud ouch. Whoa, dude, Joel said, his voice echoing up the chute. Adrian and Hope exchanged a concerned look. Lucia rubbed the goosebumps on her arms. She glanced around at the Pizzaplex vast, darkened expanse. You guys need to get down here, Joel called out. This is seriously dope. They're not there should be a bunch of bodies down there.
Yeah, and also you shouldn't be saying dope. It's 2032.
No, because the Pizzaplex is still being built.
Yeah, so this is like 2019.
Yeah, because it's been around for like over a decade at least. And actually, maybe they didn't see the bodies because the Endo was told to bring them all into a pile.
Oh, right.
Kelly crouched down and quickly slid down the chute as Hope called out, Kel! More thuds, a clank, an oof, and then Wade said, I've got you. Great job, Kelly. Hope leaned over the opening in the roof. Are you okay, Kel? I'm fine. Kelly's voice sounded tiny and distant. I'm fine. But her eager excitement was obvious. This really is wicked down here. You need to see this. Hope looked at Adrian. I hate to leave Kelly down there and alone with those two. Hey, kids, how are you going to get out? Just a question.
That is a super, super good point. And I feel like they don't think this through, much like...
To be fair, like, even in real life, I'm honestly guilty of like doing something to get to a point, and it's like I'm plankton, and like I don't know, I didn't think I'd get this far.
You know, to be fair, as a kid, I've jumped a lot of fences on private property where I was not supposed to be. So,
Yeah, but you can at least jump over the fence again.
no, I mean like in an enclosed area, like a high chain link fence going through holes in the fence to touch a dinosaur statue.
No, I'm saying, but you could easily get back out.
Yeah.
These guys like slid down a chute.
Yes. Much like the protagonists of Haps who like go into like a part of the tunnel they're not supposed to be in and don't think about how they're going to get out when the tunnel collapses until later and just sit there and like, well, I guess I'll die.
Yep. Adrian released and resigned a breath. I agree. Let me go first. Hope nodded. And that was when Lucy and the others lost their minds. What do you do when 5 of your group of 8 have already charged into the breach? Do you retreat, looking like a total wuss? For Jason Nick, the answer was the resounding no. Lucia had to think a little harder, but not for long. Aiden was down there. Star. When Lucia slid out the vent chute, Jace did his best to catch her. His best wasn't great, unfortunately, and the two of them ended up tumbling across the floor together. They landed next to a stack of old, sagging cardboard boxes. Lucia's long skirts tangled around Jace's shoulders. She quickly whipped it free and smoothed it over her legs. I think we're in a storage room. Okay, that's why. They're not in a room where the bodies were. The main room is where the bodies were. I think we're in the storage room, Kelly said. There's a hallway out here, she pointed. I'm pretty sure it leads to the dining room. Jason immediately popped to his feet and offered Lucia his hand. Sorry about that. Oh. I accidentally skimmed over to the next page, and yeah, they find the bodies.
Oh, okay, cool. Nice. And there's no human skull assets in the game in the old pizzeria. I feel robbed. Why don't I get to see dead bodies?
Maybe the blob consumed them?
Maybe the blob just does what it wants. It's just there.
Anyway. Jason immediately popped to his feet and offered Lucia his hand. Sorry about that, he said. Lucia smiled at him. No problem. She suddenly realized how well she could see. Although the light was surrounded her was dim, it was adequate to reveal that she and the others were now in a red-walled room filled with old boxes. They had to be in a Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. Even in the shadows, she could see the infamous black and white checkered floor. She could also see the piles of metal endoskeleton parts. Mounds of robotic arms and legs and torsos and skulls were strewn about through the place, along with the boxes. Surprised there are lights down here, Hope said. She was brushing a smudge of dirt off the pale yellow blouse she wore with her tight jeans. They must have piggybacked the power from the Pizzaplex construction lights, Adrian said. Come on, Joe said. Kelly's right. The dining room's down there. He pointed. Joel started down the hall, his footsteps heavy and loud. The others followed him. Lucia took up the rear. Within seconds, the group stepped up into a big room filled with more endoskeleton parts. They were scattered among broken tables and chairs and a few brightly colored plastic plates and purple striped tablecloths. What's that smell? It's the smell of blood, Lucia asked. The odor had hit her the minute she landed on the floor in the storage room, and she hadn't thought much about it. You'd expect an old buried restaurant to smell dank and musty. But now the stench seemed to be getting stronger. Smells like something dead. Yep, right on the money. Maybe you're right. Hope squeaked and pressed against Adrian. Pulled her close as he gazed around the room. What happened down here? He asked. Why are these robotic parts all over the place? Jace started poking around. Metal clacked against the metal as he picked up parts and shifted them. Maybe they're using the place as a storage area until they can the rest of the Pizzaplex built? Yeah, but why are they storing old, broken robotic parts? Lucia asked. Drain let go of Hope. Purely curious, too, began looking around. Hope poked herself and pressed up against the back of a small, semicircular stage. Foxy stage! Which was next to a long rectangular one. Small stage would have been Foxy stage. Yeah! I was literally just saying that.
Did it just say it was Foxy stage?
Yeah, it literally just said in the story, the small stage would have been Foxy stage. Literally after.
Nice. Nice.
The animatronic fox had been a fixture in the old Freddy Fazbear pizzerias. So there are multiples.
Yeah, so there are multiples, it's just not the one. So there were multiple Foxies.
Yeah. Multiple pizzerias, but only one of them had a haunted set of animatronics.
Yeah, only one had William Afton and stabby with the kitties.
Lucia left Hope and joined the others. Jace had pulled out his small sketch pad and was drawing a robotic skull. The rest of the group was trapezing through the robotic rubble, shifting a metal arm here, a metal leg there. Lucia's gaze shifted from part to part. The heads were the most unsettling parts. Their dead eyes. Lucia stopped and stared. She realized that the head she was looking at wasn't made of metal. It wasn't an animatronic head. It was. Lucia stumbled back and covered her mouth. The burger she and Jace had shared at the start of the evening churned in her stomach. She turned and threw it up. Jace was at her side immediately. Lucia, what? Lucia was so chilled, she felt like she stepped into a freezer. Lifted a shaking finger. She pointed at the head that was still lying on its side, its clouded eyes staring. She opened her mouth, but she couldn't get the words out. Jace looked in the direction of Lucia's finger. He frowned and stepped toward the head, shoving his sketch pad back into his pocket. Is that some kind of prop? He leaned over and touched the head. He yelped and fell back, landing on his hands and knees. He started scrabbling away from the head. At the same time, Kelly let out a scream, even more ear-splitting than the one Lucia had heard at the carnival. Because Kelly's scream wasn't entangled with other screams and carnival sounds, it pierced through the silence like a scythe. Lucia and Jace.
I'm just laughing because it's like, hey, let's go solve a mystery and go exploring. You unlatched trauma and a dead person's head.
Lucia and Jace, already shocked, had struggled with their feet before they could head toward Kelly. Everyone else, even Hope, was at Kelly's side in an instant. In that moment, Hope's screams joined Kelly's. Guys gasped at the base of the girl's soprano cries. Lucia and Jace finally reached the others. Reluctantly, Lucia looked in the direction of their gazes. And she blanched. Her stomach flipped over again. She gagged but managed to keep from heaving. Piled together in a macrame pyramid! The endoskeletons piled up the bodies, just like I called it.
Keep going.
A gruesome tangle of human limbs, torsos, and heads were rotting next to a snarl of ragged metal endoskeleton parts. Oh, so yeah, this is like maybe a month or two after, because they're rotting. Actually, how long does it take for a human body to rot? I need to Google that now. In a temperament climate, it usually takes 3 weeks to several years for a body to completely decompose into a skeleton, depending on factors such as temperature, humidity, presence of insects, and submergence in a substrate such as water. So, at minimum, under 3 weeks. So, yeah, this is literally not even long after that. Lucia unconsciously did an inventory of the parts. At least 11 bodies were lumped together in pieces. Okay, so only 11 construction workers. And now...
So it wasn't 30. So it wasn't 30 plus?
Maybe the others got out.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. So 11 construction workers, and now 8 teenagers on top of that, so almost 20 bodies.
Oh, okay. Well, we don't know if all of the teenagers will die down here, but that robot is still around, I would think.
Yeah. Lucia's brain, against her will, took in the details. The severed heads and dismembered arms and legs had been cut away from the limbless torsos. The ends of the exposed bones were dragged. They'd been snapped, not sawed through. Torn tissue and mangled veins revealed the same thing. These bodies had been wrenched apart. Could do that. Unable to look away from the savagery, Lucia noticed dark, rust-colored stains sprayed across the floor and walls. Dried blood was everywhere, even spotting the metal robotic parts. Now, so this is the spoiler that someone leaked earlier that confirmed that the little thing I noticed in the testing rooms that was like brownish dark rust stains that I said were probably blood.
Yeah.
This was the thing that someone said that kind of confirmed that.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, there is blood stains in those test rooms where Sun and Moon were made for real.
Nice. I feel like Security Breach is really good at like environmental storytelling and being generally vague about what vibes they want to give down.
Yeah, like,
but as far as create story goes, like actual character motivations and an actual story,
that's kind of blah.
Yeah.
But the like searching for the stuff and like piecing together things like with the exploration, because you're no longer just like stuck in one room. You can actually like look into tiny crevices and stuff. They're really good. They did a really good job at that.
Right. And like I'm so glad that after all this time people are finally talking about the abundance of the puppet, because I've been noticing it for a while and I'm like, what's with all this puppet shit?
I didn't even notice there was multiple puppets. I mean, I noticed one behind Bonnie Bull, and I knew there was the one in the testing room with the one animatronic and the TV, but I didn't notice there was more. I didn't even notice there was one in that teacup ride.
Yeah, no, I didn't know about the one in the teacup. I didn't know about the one in the ceiling, but I did know about the one in the broom closet in the West Arcade, because that one's kind of hard to miss.
Oh yeah, there was that one too. And then there's one in Bonnie Bowl. Oh yeah, so we noticed 3. I just probably didn't think anything of it just because there's so many plushies everywhere.
Right. But the Nightmare On is like very specific. And it's not just the puppet either, it's like the Nightmare On, not the puppet. If it was the puppet, it would have been the puppet, not Nightmare On. Anyway.
Adrian recovered himself first. He grabbed Hope's hand and pulled her back from the grisly heap. We need to get out of here. No one argued with him. When Adrian turned, everyone followed him. They all ran back across the dining room, pounding into the hallway and scrambling past the boxes in the storage room. There, however, they all stopped. The bottom of the shoe was no longer open. The middle had collapsed, crushed together as if crimped by a giant hand. Oh, I wonder who did that. Their escape route was blocked. Everyone stared at the closed-off chute. They panted in unison and exchanged wide-eyed, pale-faced looks.
Well, okay, now it's 100% guaranteed all the children will die in here. I'm like, well, maybe some of them escape. No, they're all dead now.
Afton, yes, sustenance. Give me your souls.
He's like, yes, finally, children to kill.
Adrian was the first to get a grip. There has to be another way out. Come on. Adrian led the group down the hallway, away from the dining room. The hallway ended at an exit door. The door was engulfed in cement blocks and more robotic parts. Help me. Adrian squatted next to the cement block. Okay, you see what they did? That the reason why the cementing failed in this scenario, but I think it would work in what we wrote in our fic. They cemented around the building.
Yeah, they cemented blocking the walls and the area around it. They didn't fill all of the area's crevices with cement.
Yeah, like fill the building itself with cement. Like flood that
Granted, things would be more expensive to do than just to build a cement wall. But on the other hand,
at that point, everyone's sick of Afton.
Right.
Adrian squatted next to a cement block, and the other guys tried to lift it. Wouldn't budge. Adrian stood and took a deep breath. Okay, there have to be other doors. Windows. Something. And there were other doors. And windows. They were all blocked. Some were actually cemented closed. Nothing would open. Nothing would give way. No matter how much effort the guys put into it. The search of the entire restaurant didn't reveal any other chutes. It also didn't reveal any tools that would have helped them pry apart the closed-off chute. Adrian suggested they use robotic arms to try and peel back the metal blocking their egress, but his idea didn't work. They were trapped. Unwilling to return to the dining room, where the decaying body parts seemed to pulse with malevolent intent, groups started down the hall leading toward the storage room. Their footsteps made scurrying sounds. They all shuffled, flat-footed in defeat, over the grit-covered floor. By now, they were all dirty and sweaty and breathing heavily. Lucia hadn't stopped shaking since she'd seen the first head. Adrian put his arm around Hope. Don't worry. When the construction crew returns in the morning, we'll hear them. We can bang on the metal and they're sure to hear us. They'll get us out. Yeah, no. There's going to be so many tools going off and all that, and nobody's going to hear you.
No one, yeah.
Hope gave Adrian a little hesitant nod that bellied her name. Belied, whatever, however you say that word.
Wait a minute. Why are they like so calm about it? Like it's like, oh, we're trapped. We could just wait this out until morning. But isn't the reason that you're trapped is because the entire grate got crushed by a giant metal hand, so you presume something's in there with you.
They haven't thought of that.
Okay.
Trailing behind the couple, Lucia wished Adrian would put his arm around her, too. Maybe reading or misreading her thoughts. Jace saddled up close and took Lucia's hand. She didn't protest. About halfway down the hallway, Adrian stopped. He held up a hand. Listen, he whispered. Oh, probably the footsteps of the robot. They clustered around Adrian as he turned back toward the way they'd just come. As soon as their steps ceased, they heard it creak. Everyone strained to see into the dimness of the dining room. The creak sounded again, loudly. Now it was an unmistakable creak of moving metal. What is that? Jill asked. Shh, Adrian said. I just had to listen. The creak repeated itself. It sounded like a metal gate swinging back and forth in a breeze. Sort of. It was an odd sound. The creak was cut up in a faint hiss. Oh, yeah, it's the whirring of a... the animatronic moving. Adrian pressed his lips together the way he always did when he was thinking deeply. He looked at the others. Come on, let's go check it out. He didn't whisper. He kept his voice low. Sounds like it might be a vent cover. Maybe a ventilation system? Might be a way out. Oh, it's not. It is not, sweet summer child.
Everyone's dead.
Lucia frowned, but she didn't say anything. The desire for the sound to lead to a way out was stronger than her intuition that the sound wasn't anything as benign as a ventilation system. Lucia knows. She knows.
Mm-hmm.
They took a few paces toward the dining room. Without discussing it, everyone stepped lightly, as quietly as possible. Lucia listened hard. The others must have been listening hard too, because when the sound changed, they all stopped as one. The creak beyond the doorway to the dining room gave way to a series of footstep-like taps, followed by another metallic creak, twined with a long hiss and a rasp. The sounds were getting closer. Each tap brought the hissing creak nearer to the hallway. Hope clutched Adrian's arm. I think it is.
What?
The endo was powered down this entire time until they showed up, right? Because there was no more bodies for it to, pile up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that whole sound was probably it just testing its arm joints by, swirling back and forth and turning them.
Oh, maybe.
Because that would explain why they didn't hear footsteps.
Yeah.
Until now.
Yeah.
clunk came from just a few feet beyond the doorway. Adrian grabbed Hope's hand, started running back down the hall toward the storage room. Hope went along without question. So did everyone else. Lucia's heart was lurching up toward her throat as they all tore into the storage room. She was sure the others could hear the pounding beats thumping against her ribcage. As soon as they were all through the door, Adrian closed the door quietly. Everyone stared at the door. What if it's someone coming to help us? Wade whispered. The very fact that he whispered revealed the doubt behind his words. The others didn't answer the question. They just looked at one another in wide eyes. Clearly, everyone was realizing what Lucia had known as soon as she'd heard the first creak. They weren't down here alone. And whatever's down here wasn't here to help them get out.
And then they all died.
Yep.
And
Torn apart by another animatronic.
another animatronic. I'm a little disappointed by the lack of gore, but that's okay. We got plenty of it in HAPS and B7.
Technically, we got to see a lot of gore because we got the description of how much blood was everywhere and all the bodies.
Yeah.
So 11 construction workers, 8 teenagers. Actually, hold on. I mentioned it earlier, like, there were probably, like, a lot of known buildings that had, like, deaths in it. I want to look up what the building with the most death count during construction had. The Panama Canal. 30,609 deaths.
Holy shit.
That's a construction project.
Yeah, that indeed is.
But that's a canal. I want to know a building.
Yeah.
Okay, so I looked at the World Trade Center. 60 workers were killed in construction accidents.
Okay.
So 11 construction workers is... Yeah, no one's not going to really make that much of a stink.